So in today's episode, we're going to talk about a job that went completely sideways on us, but what we did in order to get through it. Let's get into it.
Every time, every night is a loose one. And every flight, you know that I put the crew on. You say that I drop top, well then tell me what you done. I'm still in my winning phase, yeah, I've been away. Are you entertained?
It guided me, that's what I'm constantly summoning. I love the climb, I don't care where the summit is. Funny when people be saying I peaked, retired, my parents, they live at the peak.
Yeah, so we recently did a job in Hudson Yards Mall that was, it was for a commercial kitchen kind of place, but the trick of it, I think that we all thought that it was going to be just very straightforward. We've done these before, everything was great, but I think the tricky part came in at where they wanted us to do a flood test, and it was a 24-hour flood test, and we've done a few of these in the past, but I think this one just caught us off guard.
Yeah, so we did our whole epoxy system throughout the kitchens and bar areas, and nailed it. Thought we were gonna be good. Turns out we were wrong. And the part that people don't see is that underneath where we are, so we're on the 4th floor of the Hudson Yards Mall. Underneath one area of where we had to do the flood test was Lululemon and their store within the mall. And then underneath another section of where we had to do the floor was a massive IT room for one of the buildings called The Edge in New York City. You could look it up. It's in Hudson Yards. It's got the big see-through platform. That whole IT room was right underneath us with millions of dollars of computers, systems, and security cameras and everything. And the flood test was to be 3 inches of water held throughout the space for 24 consecutive hours to see if it holds. Now, the kicker is, which really still pisses me off to this day, is we had to build temporary dams in front of the doors so that the water did not go down the staircase. Once we remove those dams, the water is free to go down the staircase at that point. But they wanted us to build these dams to hold the water back for the flood test. Lo and behold, right, the place is never going to flood because it's just going to go right out the door. But it's the building rules, so we'll play by them. So we were definitely nervous. Lululemon, obviously, we were nervous for, but more so the IT room holding 3 inches of water in, what was that, like a 1,500 square foot space for 24 consecutive hours, knowing that there was going to be that much water sitting there while everybody was asleep and there was no supervision. Oh, and the cherry on top was that we didn't have access to the IT room at all. So we couldn't even go down there really to monitor the water falling. We had to just kind of do temporary setup protection and then try and test it before the IT room people got there, which I think was like 8 o'clock. But from that point on, we had no access to it at that point. So just had to kind of hope and pray for the best. And it took us about 3 times to get through this flood test. We were continuously failing, and it was just a gut punch every single time.
Yeah, I would say that the point of this episode is to show that not everything goes the way that you have, that you plan, and that it's not always a highlight reel. This is not like complaining or anything like that. We're trying to show that there are jobs that can happen and things that do happen that you don't anticipate, and that this really became a huge learning lesson for all of us, and it really made us better installers. I really believe it made us better installers. It taught us a lot of patience. It really refined our grit and everything like that, because we were able to just constantly, we were constantly tested for well over a month on all of this, just going sideways. And it really put us to the test. And through all of this, I think we came out better. Just as, we tested our leadership, we tested our determination. We tested our patience. We tested our skill as installers. We did the whole gambit on this job, and this doesn't happen to us at all, ever. Most the other portions of this job went, I mean, incredibly smooth. Everything was great. It was just when you were doing stuff, as far as when you involve water on floors for 24 hours and temporary dams and all this kind of stuff, you open up ways for the water to go through. If it's going to find a way, it's going to find a way. And that really was the thing that put us to the test. Our floor held up. It was fine, but it was just trying to find the leaks wherever they were, and new little leaks were popping up here and there and everywhere. And we just had to go through, fix it, make sure that everything looked good at the end of the day. And, you know, it did. I think everything looks fantastic. I think the floor is fantastic. It's just, you know, we had to learn how to be better installers, I think, on this one.
Yeah, and I think, you know, a big portion of that, you know, speaking about like what went wrong, when we got to the job site, the plumber had set the drains, everything was good. Our guys then took it from that point and went in and started patching around the drains and installing our system. The problem is, what we learned is that the drains necessarily didn't keep up with the technology of epoxy waterproofing. So the drain bodies that we're still using today are an older design that have these weep holes in them that are designed for water to go out, and for a different waterproofing system that, you know, makes sense for that. We didn't realize that there was some weep holes in there because, you know, it was already set in the floor, so it was kind of tough to see. That was number one. Number two, when our guys got there, we should have really instructed them to, you know, chip back on the drains a little bit more. There was only about a couple of inches all around the drains, and the plumbers had filled it up with the spray foam all the way to the top. Our guys cleaned out the spray foam and started patching from there, from just like a couple inches down, and going ahead with our system. That was a big issue, because in hindsight, we needed to go much deeper than where we originally patched it, and filled it up with a more structural sound epoxy system, basically, and clog all the weep holes. So our water was essentially leaking out of these weep holes that we really were unsure of where they were and how to stop the water from coming out of them. So, you know, even though we lost a lot of sleep and we're just heavily distracted from this job, it has now, like you said, made us better, because now when we come across this the next time, we know that just because the plumber, you know, chopped out 2 inches around his drain and set his drain, that's not enough for us. We need to clear the space more and really get on our hands and knees and get down there and make sure that we're properly securing and locking in these drains and clogging any potential holes that there are, because that was really issue number one right there.
Yeah, I think that was really just, honestly, that was the main issue. It was just we had to learn how to identify the plumbing, the drains, and once we figured that out, that was a key component there. There's really no, I mean, we've done a lot of research on this. We had to learn the drain. We had to learn how to look at it and figure it out and what we were doing incorrectly. Not too many details on this. There are ways of doing it that we came across, and we implemented that and mixed some together, and we found our system that works. And it just came through making everything just incredibly, incredibly watertight. We never had to do this before. So that came from just doing a lot of research, like you said, losing a lot of sleep. And I don't think that we were just looking for solutions on this job, whether it was from any other person that can give us options. Like, we were just looking to see. We did a ton of research. We've tried to figure all this out. We eventually, like I said, we combined some other previous methods from the past and from details that we've seen, and we figured it out. And this kind of job definitely was something that, you know, really shows what you're made of. And when you're down there and you're looking at this drain for the 100th time and you're trying to figure out where this water is coming from, or you're looking at the wall and trying to figure out where it's leaking from this little corner that, you know, it figures out, but maybe the little corner is actually not leaking there. It's like 40 feet away in somewhere else. You know, you go kind of crazy. But it shows it's basically the universe, God, whoever, somebody showing you that you need to develop patience. And we were there really developing patience on this job. And this is not about blaming. This is not about, you know, anything like that. This is showing that the way you look at hard things can really develop who you are as a person, as a business leader, as a team leader. And this is one of those jobs that really tested everything that we had and pushed us to the next level of being leaders. Because when you're there and you have a team of guys that are there looking at you and trying to figure this out, and they're looking for direction because they don't exactly know what to do. We've all never been here before. You can just get frustrated and throw in the towel and just be like, you know, whatever. Well, you know, and then just like not have the best response to it. But I think that I think that we had a good response to most of it going on. We didn't like, you know, we I don't think that we really did anything that I'm embarrassed of or anything like that. I think that we handled ourselves well. I think that we looked for solutions. I think that we did the best that we could with our guys and our team and, you know, with the general contractor. But it just went sideways.
I think, you know, we had two great supers on the job with us in Dylan and Les that were patient and they didn't care about necessarily, they weren't pointing the finger and blaming us for anything that we were doing wrong. They were just like, we need to figure out and come to a solution with this. And they were very helpful in doing so. But to your point, we also, every time we got the text or the phone call saying like, you know, it failed, we didn't allow ourselves, or at least for me, I didn't allow myself to have any type of emotion. As soon as we heard it failed, the flood test, because it was happening, so the preface is we would be there at night, buttering everything up, doing what we could. We couldn't even test it because, God forbid, it leaked and it went downstairs and there was no kind of protection on the computers or Lululemon. We weren't able to test anything. So we had to do everything kind of the best of our ability that we thought was going to work. We'd get home at like 3 o'clock in the morning. The flood test would be at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and we'd just wake up to a text or a phone call of failure. But, you know, I didn't really allow myself to get down about it. It was just like, head down, okay, got to get through this, got to fix it, got to figure it out. And, you know, really, Dad was a huge, I guess, guiding light, showing his leadership on it. He would go there on a Friday night with Mom. They'd make a night out of it, go to dinner. They were there on a Saturday. Dad slept there on the job one night to ensure that one section of the flood test passed, which it did, thank God. This super walked on his job the next day. He's like, no way you slept here. And Dad's like, I slept here. Hindsight, he said the computer chair reclined really far back, and he was choking on his own spit, but he was comfortable when he was sleeping. That's a thing that he does. He chokes when he sleeps. Maybe it's not a good thing, but to be determined. So, you know, watching Dad do that at, 61, 62 years old, really kept us moving forward. We were already doing it, but that just kind of was just like, we're all doing it together, and he slept on the job that night. So we're like, all right, we're fucking committed to this then. We're doing it. We got to get through this. We need to pull through. This is a very good client of ours. And aside from that, we're just not going to let a job beat us. We're not going to walk away from a failure. We've never walked away from a failure. We've never had a failure, but we've never walked off a job or really been thrown off a job ever. And we're not about to start now. and we wanted to make sure that we were going to beat this job, so to speak, and it took a lot out of us. I know. On top of that, also, me and Dad were in Florida for the second to last flood test. Dad ended up having to leave a couple of days early. My trip was just stressed out the whole time, thinking about you being alone and trying to patch these things in, and still not really having a true answer. So I don't want to say ruined the vacation, but it definitely put a big hamper on our Florida trip, which is fine. That's always going to be there. But it really put a test on my mental sanity, mental capacity, mental.
Yes, yeah.
But we just had to keep pushing through it. We had to keep pushing through it, and our guys really held down the fort for us on all the other jobs because we really couldn't focus our attention on anything else, from loading jobs to estimating jobs to doing other jobs. Like, all of our attention was spent on here, and our guys really knocked it out of the park for us on the other projects while we were trying to put out this massive fire.
Yeah, I would say that was another, big thing that tests when you have a job that happens like this, it really goes and shows you the other holes in your game where you could improve on, coming from, like a back office perspective or a warehousing perspective or project management. And I have to say, the guys did a fantastic job. We told them, like, hey, we're going to be really dedicated to this particular job at this time. We need to make sure everything goes well. And with everything that else was going on, we had a lot of other projects that were going on that were, a big deal. And they took care of it. Our project management team, our field team, warehousing, everything went really, really well on every other job. And like Nick said, we had no bandwidth to really dedicate to the other projects. And we're so impressed and so happy with the way everybody performed, and listen, we're even happy with the way they performed on this job. I don't think that there was anything that any of us, did wrong on this particular job. I think it was just a learning experience on how to do this particular kind of waterproofing that we were never really trained on. Nobody, it was never really a thing. And I think that I'm super happy with our team. I'm super happy with the way everybody did everything. And they showed up. They really showed up for us, and it really helped us. It took a load off of us when we were otherwise incredibly distracted. And it showed, I think more importantly, it showed everybody else what they were capable of doing. We never really had this kind of stress on the system yet, and it really showed the rest of the guys, hey, you guys are able to do this stuff. We're all, and we didn't know either. We had no idea until like the stress hit the system. And now, we could see what everybody's really capable of, and everything else after this has become, pretty easy.
God, yeah. No joke. We had, even like this week, we had a couple of things go sideways, and I was like, I would much rather deal with these issues than but no, yeah, I think, taking ownership of everything. I think the only people to blame would be ourselves. We
Always
should have known better. We should have figured out the system sooner. We did now, and it won't happen again. But our guys showed up even when we basically had to destroy the floor, chop out the floor, chop out around the drains, and refill them in. Again, another caveat to this was that we could only do that from 10 p.m. on when the mall was closed. Any kind of deliveries that had to get into the mall, in and out of the mall, to the job site, and noise had to happen when the mall was closed, which was a 10 p.m. start, working overnight. Our guys, they were always right there when we needed some muscle to knock out the drains, infill the drains, recoat them, whatever it was. So just grateful to have the team that we have, and it was all a learning experience together. We now have instilled in everybody the proper way to do these drains for waterproofing like this, and I guess some takeaways would be you won't always control the job, but you can always control your response. Many jobs on for everybody go sideways often, every day. But it's just a matter of doing your best to, like, literally for me, I literally take a deep breath and I exhale, and it instantly calms me down, and you just have to keep moving forward. And that this job in particular for me taught me, like, it's not going to take us out. It's not going to make us close up shop or anything like that. We just have to keep going forward and doing our whatever is needed in order to get through it and fix it the right way. And don't, like, for me, don't give myself time to think about the woe is me, the I can't believe this is happening, how can this happen? Just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have that option as a leader in anything. If you're a leader in any team or any kind of, aspect of your life, whether you're a father, a mother, a business leader, you don't have that opportunity to always let your emotions get you can't let your emotions get the best of you. And it's just like, okay, we just got to go back in there, figure it out, and maybe there's not a whole job that goes sideways on you. Maybe it's an aspect of a job that's, like, difficult. Maybe it's a difficult, like, tedious little detail. But you know what? All those little things, you can control your response to how you deal with those details and those issues arising. And I think the more even keeled and understanding that you can control how you see the problem. Do you see it as something that's going to break you, or do you see it as something that's going to make you stronger and be a better leader at the other end of this? You have that capability of determining how you see it. And we chose to see it as, while this is incredibly frustrating in the moment, we know that it's a big test for us and that we're going to pass this. We have no other option. There's no other, we've never, we've slept on jobs before. We've done all of this stuff. All of this stuff that we've done in the past on previous projects was just a big preparation leading up to something like this. And if you don't commit yourself to all of the other projects that you've done in the past the way that you need to as a business owner or as a leader, then you're not going to be ready for something when this happens, something like this on this magnitude happens.
Yeah, and just in closing, I think, it's not about floors. It's about being the company that people can rely on, and that, I say it often, being the company that when we step on the job site, people breathe a sigh of relief, and not folding when things get messy. We keep showing up. We keep a positive attitude the best that we can, although we want to kick and scream, and just keep moving forward and just deliver on our word. If we said we're going to do something, we're going to do it, and that's really what we try and be as people at the end of the day.
Yeah. So that being said, guys, always just keep going, learn from failures, fail forward. Make sure that you're just dedicated to the process, and be the person that when you show up, everybody knows it's going to be okay. So if you guys like this, if you got anything out of it, please like, subscribe, share the podcast. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you, as always, for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.